Hey guys, welcome back to Final Fantasy Memories, the series where I talk about the Final Fantasy games. I'm Lance, MistareFusion, as you well know. If you watch these videos, if this is your first time, then now you know who I am. And Dax is going to be in this video too, my dog Dax. Say hi to the people, Dax. She doesn't talk very much. Hi, look at the camera. You can't see her eyes. She needs a haircut really badly. But anyway, I'm here to talk about Final Fantasy VII if this dog doesn't distract me too much. But yeah, I've gone through the first 6 games. It's taken me a few years to get to this point, but I finally got to the important one, the really important one, Final Fantasy VII, everybody's favorite game in the series. This was not the first Final Fantasy game I ever played. In fact, this was probably the second one I ever played. Okay, the fact of the matter is, I haven't done a Final Fantasy Memories video in a very long time. It's been over a year. I think Final Fantasy VI, I put that one out last May, so it's been about a year and a half. And so, I got through maybe about half of Disc 1. I got right to the desert prison underneath the gold saucer. And then I just kind of lost interest and I quit playing it. And I was so prepared to make a video about this, saying, oh yeah, it's totally overrated. This is by far one of my least favorite Final Fantasy games. Not that I didn't like it, but it just, I couldn't get, it's just something that I'm kind of okay with. It's kind of mediocre. But when I finally picked it back up again, which was a few months ago, I zoomed through it. I zoomed through the rest of the game. I had a great time playing it, and I think I was just kind of burned out. And I see this, just looking back through all the rest of the Final Fantasy Memory videos, I kind of see it happening, at a pretty reliable looking cycle. It's like, the first one I played was Final Fantasy IV, back before I knew I was going to be going through the whole series, just playing it for fun. And it took me a while to get through that one. But then once I did the video on that, I zoomed through the first game and the second game, and put out videos on those. And I got to the third game, and I kind of lost interest. It took me a long time to get through it, and I didn't get another one out there for about another year. And then once I did, I picked it back up, zoomed through the rest of that, zoomed through 5, zoomed through 6, and then I got to 7, and I think I was just burned out. I think I had maybe like 3 games in me at a time before I'm just not in a Final Fantasy mood anymore. And I think that's what kind of happened here. So it wasn't there was anything wrong with the game, it was just I was tired of Final Fantasy. But once I got back into it, I really ended up enjoying it. I still say it's not my favorite game in the series, but I certainly didn't have that sort of hipstery, it's overrated reaction to it either. By the way, I just moved. Actually, I moved a couple of months ago. I just haven't had much time to unpack, but yet another new location for me to be filming in, just so you know. But if you see boxes, vacuum cleaners, bags all scattered about, that's the reason why. So anyway, Final Fantasy VII. This game gave me a lot to talk about, both in terms of a review, and also I have a lot of interesting memories with this game as well. Because, like I said, I'm almost certain it was the second one I played. I'm almost entirely sure. I know what the first one is. And that's Final Fantasy VIII, which we're going to get to next. But this one, okay. I didn't have a PlayStation when I got this game. I played this on the PC version. Not the new one that came out, although it's fairly similar, I guess. But I actually bought it, in a box, for Windows. And it wasn't until later that I got the PlayStation version and played that. So it was because I'm not entirely sure if I knew. I'm pretty sure I must have known by that time. I played 8 for a while. I don't think I'd beaten 8 by the time I got 7. I think I might have known that it was the popular Final Fantasy. I certainly didn't know before I played 8, but I'm pretty sure by the time I got 7 that I knew that was the one everybody was always talked about. And I guess, I'd loved 8 enough that I wanted to go back and play some other games as well. But I always had a lot of problems in playing the game. That's where most of my memories come from. Because the weird thing is, I know exactly, what happened when I found 8. I have really strong memories when it comes to that game. It comes to the things that I did in it, my first experiences with it, how it made me feel about Final Fantasy. But I don't really remember finding Final Fantasy VII in a store. I don't really remember it buying it. I don't really remember what my first impressions of it were. What I had so strongly with most of the other games. And I think that was part of the reason, combined with me just being burned out, that I thought that I was, I just didn't really care for it as much as the other ones. But what I remember most about the game is just all these terrible things that happened every time I tried to play it, and maybe that's why it's colored my perception against it too. Okay, so the first time I played the game, like I said, it was on the PC. I made it all the way through the first disc. I got to the point where, spoilers, by the way, in case you never played this game before, but Aeris dies in it. So I got to the point where Aeris dies, and I knew that coming in. That was something that had been spoiled for me. I'm sure that was because I was still in the around 2000s. This was still a fairly recent game at the time, so it was still pretty bold, shocking news. So I knew she died. I knew she died at the end of Disc 1. I was getting really excited about that. I got to that point. And first of all, there's a glitch related to the PC version on that, where if you have Vincent in your party, for some reason we get to the cutscene where all the characters are looking at her body. If you have Vincent in your party, one of his legs will be sticking straight out, and his cape will be sticking straight up for the entire scene. So I always made sure to put Vincent in my party every time I play that, just to ruin any kind of emotional connection I could possibly have with it. But that was a fun glitch. I didn't mind that glitch. What bothered me was that, okay, so Cloud picks up her body and he walks out of the building in the ancient city, and he walks into the pool of water. Then it cuts to a full motion video, where he puts her in the water and lets her sink. But for some reason, that FMV would never load. Never. The music would keep playing. It would cut to black, to load the FMV, and it would just never play. And it didn't matter how many times I played through that scene, and I probably played through it countless amount of times, I couldn't get past that part. It just would not let me get through it. It was terrible. I was stuck there. I looked it up on the internet. I found that other people had the same problem too. I looked up patches for it and tried to download those, but nothing ever worked. I could never get past this poor part in the game. I have no idea how long I was stuck there. It's because that was like 15, 16 years ago. So I don't know how long I sat there, or put the game aside before I could actually play it again. But I ended up, I don't know how long I had the game before that happened, but I ultimately ended up buying another copy of the game. I bought an entire another PC copy of it. This one was different. The packaging was the same, but like the previous one, if you open the box, it came in like this cool fold-out cardboard, disc holder thing, just kind of like my copy of Final Fantasy VIII had. This one just came in like the, standard white envelopes with the, plastic window in the front. It wasn't nearly as cool, but I plugged in that disc instead, and I was able to continue the game and finally keep going. But then, once I was on disc 2, there's the part where you take Bugenhagen to the ancient city, and you basically get the big Aeris death recap. He watches it through the waterfall or whatever. And once I got to that point on the new copy that I bought, it would freeze up there. It wouldn't play that FMV. So it didn't matter how many times I bought this game, it didn't like me watching Aeris die, apparently. But thankfully, I had kept the first copy I bought, and so I was able to put in disc 2 from the first set, and that worked fine. So between the two of them, I actually had one working copy of Final Fantasy VII. Jeez. Then, I played the game again in 2005, I think. Once I finally got the PlayStation version, I had sort of gotten into the habit of recording the PlayStation Final Fantasies on video cassette, so I could have all the story moments and stuff like that. I recorded it all off the TV. I had all like the major battles, major story points, FMVs, just so I could, play it back and watch the story as if it was one big movie, because it takes less time than I'm going to play through the entire game. So I recorded 9, I recorded 8, and finally I went back to record 7. But I was in college by this point, and I only, was hooked up at my mom's, so I only really get to play it when I was visiting home. So it took me from like 2005 to about 2007 to finish playing this game this time. And wouldn't you know it, I had problems with that one too. Because I got towards the end, I went to do the side quests, and I went to the Gold Saucer to in the battle arena to get Omni Slash, and you get enough battle points and you can get Cloud's Ultimate Limit Break Omni Slash. And I finally got enough points, I bought it, had all those other limit breaks, I swear, and I don't know if it's on the tape or not. If it is, I'm going to do my best to try to get a recording of it for this video. I doubt it is, because I only recorded story-related stuff. But he would not learn it. I swear, every other limit break he had. So, and that's the prerequisite for using the level 4 limit breaks, is you have to know all the other ones. But no matter how many times I use the item on him, he's just like, nah, I still don't get it. And it drove me crazy. I've looked this up. I've never been able to find anybody confirming this though, so people are probably going to say I'm crazy or that I just didn't know what I was doing. But I've seen like anecdotal evidence, people saying that happens. But I was confused. I was terribly confused at the time. And at the time, I was a member of a Final Fantasy forum online. I don't even remember what it was anymore, and I wouldn't say what it was, even if I did remember the exact name, because I'd been there for a while, maybe like a year or two. I don't know. Wasn't a frequent poster, but frequent enough, and I'd never gotten any trouble there before. But the fact of the matter is, at that time, I'd only really participated strongly in one other forum, which is originaltrilogy.com, which is a Star Wars forum. And the rules are very, very lax, and unlike most forums, they tended to prefer that you would, revive old topics instead of, making new ones. The whole necroposting thing wasn't a thing there. So I didn't know it was like that outside of there. So I finally found a topic from like a couple of years ago, a couple of years earlier than that. Someone asking the same question about how he couldn't get Omni Slash to work on Cloud. So I made a post on that. And I came back the next day, and again, I'd never gotten in trouble there before. Never, not a single time. I came back. I hadn't gotten warned, hadn't gotten any moderators to say don't do that anymore. I came back to find that I had been banned. Not only had I been banned, I had posts deriding me in the most unpleasant terms, just like making like moderators making fun of me. They banned me. Not only banned me, they changed my user title to quote "Dead Thread Lovin' Necrophiliac." I have never seen a forum go so over the top for such a minor infraction. It just completely blew my mind. But even then, I tried to track down a moderator and get in contact with him and say, hey, I wasn't trying to rock the boat. I didn't realize this was that big of a deal. And he was like, oh yeah, I'll take care of it. Never heard back again. Never went back there again after that. Cause that was just, it just blows, to this day, almost 10 years later, it blows my mind that kind of reaction would come from that. So I never learned Omni Slash for that. And then this time when I played the game, if I played for too long, these weird graphical glitches would happen. I'd come out of a battle, and all of a sudden the entire field graphics would just be completely distorted. Then I go into the next battle, and I couldn't read any menu options. And it was either turn off the game at that point, or or just try to muddle through without being able to read anything. And I finally realized, as I mentioned this in my previous Final Fantasy Memories videos, that I played on a PlayStation 2, and there are options on there for disc speed and texture mapping on when you're playing regular PlayStation games. And I've always used turn the disc speed to fast. Like on the Final Fantasy Anthology, for example, that I play 6 on in Chrono Trigger, it takes out a lot of the load times that people complain about in those copies of the game. But for some reason, that seemed to be causing the glitch, because once I stopped using that, everything was fine. But it just seemed like every time I played this game, something bad happens, that threatens to keep me from finishing it or keep me from experiencing the whole thing. So I did a lot of research when I was playing through this game, especially once I came back from my hiatus on it. And there's a lot more on the internet now about it now, with YouTube and wikis and things like that, than there were back in the the previous decade. and I found out about a glitch. That the save. I mean, there's so many glitches in this game, so many. Some of them are fun to play around with, but there's one with the save crystal. Like at the very end of the game, when you go to the final dungeon, you get a save crystal you can drop wherever you want, so you can choose where your last save point will be, which is a pretty cool idea. But apparently, I found out that there's a chance if you use it, you'll get stuck in the room that you save in, and you can never leave, and you can never finish the game. Your save file is completely ruined. So, just based on the luck I've had with this game over the course of my life, I decided I wasn't going to use it at all. I just didn't want to take that chance. I didn't want to, because the graphical glitch was the luckiest I've been so far. It was annoying, but it didn't ruin anything, and I just figured things were going a bit too smoothly at this point to risk using the save crystal. So pretty much everything I've been through with this game, there's been some kind of problem happening with it. Just didn't want to take that chance. I didn't want to get to the very, very end only to not be able to beat it. But I had a lot of fun with this run, and once again, I used H.C. Bailey's walkthrough sort of behind myself to see if I'd miss anything or get new strategies I didn't think of. But for the most part, I tried to just do it. I would do it myself, without any kind of guide or walkthrough, because back in the past I was always using the strategy guide like crazy, and this one was fun, and then it basically read like a story. It didn't have like points or objective list. It actually just had so this is what happens, and then Cloud walks into the house and finds Eris, and and it read like a story. So I love taking these. I love taking strategy guides to school and just reading them like a book, in between lessons, or when I didn't have any work to do, I would just take a strategy guide to school and read it like it was a book. That was fun. I remember taking this to school and also to youth group at church, stuff like that.